So hi friends, very good evening all of you. So we are discussing audit of public sector undertakings today. So what is this? Put the heading in your notes. Audit of public sector. Audit of public sector undertakings. So we are starting with audit of public sector undertakings. We are going to start with audit of public sector undertakings. So do you remember we have studied audit of government expenditure, audit of government revenue, audit of stores and spares in CA intermediate. Whether you have done CA intermediate in old syllabus or new syllabus, government audit was there. In government audit, you might have studied three parts: audit of government expenditure, audit of government revenue, audit of stores and spares. In audit of government expenditure, do you remember there were 5 important points? In audit of government expenditure, there are how many points? There are 5 points. So do you remember what that 5 points are? Can you tell me what are the 5 points? Audit of rules and regulations. You remember? Sanctioning, provisioning, propriety audit and performance audit. So straight to go to propriety audit, because that is important question. Everybody read only propriety audit, performance audit, but actually there are 5 points. There are actually 5 points. Okay, now tell me one thing. You are conducting audit of X Limited. First I'll ask you one case study. You are conducting audit of X Limited. X Limited is in losses. X Limited is in losses. X Limited did not pay rents properly. X Limited did not pay salaries properly. But X Limited purchased a car worth 1 crore for the uses of MD. So there is one managing director of the company. So he bought a car with 1 crore rupees. Already the company is overburdened. The company is not generating enough profits to pay the shareholders, to pay the other stakeholders, to pay the landlords, to pay the employees. But he purchased one car worth 1 crore. As an auditor, what will you do? Can you question why the hell you purchased a car? As an auditor, can you ask the management, can you ask the MD, why you purchased this car? Can you question it? Tell me, guys, in the chat box, I'm looking at your answers. Tell me, can you question it? So the answer is yes, 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 yes. So many yeses are coming. So many yeses. But don't you think the MD will say, hey, auditor, verify the existence of car, verify the valuation of car, verify the occurrence of transaction, verify the completeness in terms of whether the incidental expenses are properly added as per property, plant and equipment AS Ind AS 16. Verify whether the car is depreciated properly or not. Verify whether the car is insured if you want to check that. So you can do all these things. But under what grounds you are questioning my decision of buying a car? Do you have a right? Do you have a statutory right? Is there anything written that you have to inform the shareholders or members of the company if at all management is buying assets? So I have not done any fraud. I have purchased this car in the name of company only. Legally I paid money. Asset is recognized in the books. What is the problem? On what ground you can ask me? Frankly speaking, in case of a commercial enterprise, in this situation, auditor has nothing much to do. Auditor knows that something is wrong. So you know that loans are taken, short-term loans are used for long-term purposes, long-term loans are used for short-term purposes. Public money is not, IPO money is not properly utilized. So loans are taken from subsidiary companies, holding companies. You know all these things. But what you can do if the management is accounting for it properly? If management is not accounting for it properly, then you can chop the management into pieces. Idiot, why you are not showing the car? Why the car valuation is not correct? Where is the car? Where is the existence of the car? Where is the occurrence of transaction? Where is the bill? Where is the C-book? Whether C-book is, that registration certificate is in the name of the company or no? Whether incidental expenses are capitalized or not? All these things you can ask. What, how, and what will you ask the management to understand why the hell they purchased the car? You don't have actually much to do there. But if it is audit of public sector undertaking, you will ask this question because it is public money. You are doing it with the revenue the government collected from the taxes. So people paid taxes. From the taxes you are doing this. How can you do that? So try to understand one thing. Audit of commercial enterprise and audit of public sector undertakings, audit of government are extremely different in the sense. So many questions which you cannot ask in audit of commercial enterprises, audit of normal entities, you can ask in audit of public sector undertakings. So many questions in addition to regular audit will come here. And you tell me one thing, if you are conducting audit of Infosys or Reliance Industries, can you write recommendations to the board on how to improve the efficiencies and how to reduce the wastages? So you are conducting audit of Reliance Industries. Can you make recommendations on how to utilize resources better? So tell me in the chat box, when you are conducting audit of a company, can you make recommendations on how to improve efficiency, how to improve productivity, how certain parameters and benchmarks can be improved? Can you do that? The answer is no. Correct? The answer is no. The board of directors will say, dear auditor, mind your own business. This is none of your business. This is not your cup of tea. You are here to check whether the financial statements are free from material misstatements. You are here to check whether books of account are properly maintained. You are here to report on section 143 matters. You are here to report on that 6 matters where you inquire as per 143.1. You are here to report on 143.12. You are here to report on 143.3. You are here to report on 143.2. You are here to report on true and fair view. Shut your mouth and mind your own business. Nowhere a right is given to you to ask my decision making. You cannot. You are not management auditor, no, that is different. Management audit is morning. Voluntarily, if the company appoints a management auditor, he will ask. But we are discussing about statutory audit of PSU. You are in financial statutory audit of PSU. You are in statutory audit of a company. These kind of things you cannot ask. So try to understand rule 1, basic pillar of audit of public sector undertaking. Try to understand rule 1. Audit of public sector undertakings extend and go beyond financial audit. Even though you are the auditor appointed to conduct audit of financial statements, write down point number 1, some basic understanding. Audit of PSUs or government departments extend beyond financial matters. Point number 2, audit of PSUs or government departments extend beyond financial matters. Point number 2, in government audit or in PSU audit, audit is an instrument. Audit is an instrument for A, financial, and B, managerial accountability. In PSU audit, audit is an instrument for financial accountability, managerial accountability. Imagine you are a district collector. You are a district collector. I am auditor appointed to conduct audit of that district's financial transactions. I will not look at P&L balance sheet and I will not go. I will question your financial accountability. What is accountability? Accountability is a person accepting responsibility and behaving responsible for his or her own conduct. You have done something, you should be responsible for it. So after doing something, you cannot escape. You are responsible, you are answerable. Now try to understand one thing. I'll ask you one simple question. Mukesh Ambani, in the context of Reliance Industries, is he the highest authority or is he the highest responsibility? You tell me. I'm asking a question. Mukesh Ambani or CEO of a company? Not only Mukesh Ambani, any CEO, any company CEO, is he the highest authority or is he the highest responsibility? Tell me. Will he exercise authority or will he exercise responsibility? Actually speaking, it is responsibility. You are highest responsibility. I'll give you some simple examples, okay, out of the context of audit. Somewhere accident happens, train accident. Somewhere train accident happens. Somewhere train accident happens. In Parliament, opposition will shout on the railway minister and will say, this is because of your irresponsibility. You resign. And do you know, in India, there were situations railway ministers resigned because of accidents. There were. I have seen it. The railway minister resigned. That day I was thinking of what this minister will do. Some idiot driver couldn't take proper measures, or there could be some technical failure in the train engine and he couldn't handle it. So it could be a technical failure or it could be a failure by the driver. For this, you tell me honestly, what minister will do? Whether the minister is Congress minister, BJP minister or any other party minister, that is a different story. What minister will do for an accident which happened 2000 kilometers away from his residence? 2000 kilometers away some accident happened. But you cannot ask that question. You are responsible. Team fails, captain is responsible. Team fails, coach is responsible. Team fails, manager is responsible. Branch fails, branch manager is responsible. That is the reason we call it accountability. That is the reason we call it accountability. When a project is successful, no one will question you. But when a project is failure, everybody will question. So these people, you call it collector, you call it a minister, you call it prime minister, you call it any public office, a person sitting in any public office, he is accountable. Now Pawan sir, what is financial accountability? What is managerial accountability? So see, audit arrow mark down is an instrument of two arrow marks down. Left side, financial accountability. Second one, managerial accountability. Correct? So Pawan sir, what is the meaning of these two words? Financial accountability and managerial accountability. Financial accountability and managerial accountability. Financial accountability, arrow mark down. One, rules and orders. Two, sanctioning. Three, provisioning of funds. Four, propriety. Five, performance. So do you remember this five? This five put together is audit of government expenditure, correct? Same thing we are following here. Audit of NGOs, audit of local bodies, audit of government expenditure. You have read these 5 points. In that, first 4 are financial accountability. So imagine there is one authority like a collector or a minister. He sanctioned a road from this point to this point, sanctioned a road, and he has given that contract to one XYZ company. Sanctioned one road and has given this contract to XYZ company. 1,000 questions will come from this transaction now. Why the road is required? Is it for public welfare? Is it for the benefit of public? Or is it because your lands are there and you want to increase the real estate price and you are putting one road? Is it that you are doing favor to one particular community? Is it that you are giving this contract to one party and looting commissions from there? Is the company to which your contract is given is where you or your relatives are involved? What will be the impact of this road on the financial situation of that particular entity? So you will ask all these questions. Question number 1, is the road sanctioned? Is the road sanctioned properly as per a government order? Is there any government order? Is there any rules framed by central government or state government or any authority, or is there anything in the constitution where this road is allowed? So that is what you call regularity audit. So first step is the expenditure incurred as per the rules and orders? Now I am the auditor and collector is saying, Pavan sir, there is one order passed by central government, and he has taken the printout of the order and he has given, sir, this is the order, see. Then I read GO number so and so, dated so and so, so and so. So this expenditure meets with the purpose given in the order. Then I said, okay, test 1 passed, test 1 passed. So this expenditure incurred is as per the rules, as per the government order. Okay, Mogambo satisfied ho gaya, I am satisfied. I am satisfied. Then 2, sanctioning, whether the amount sanctioned properly. Because if you know, all these government enterprises will run on budgeting system. You cannot pay even salaries without sanctioning in the budget. So every month you prepare budget, every year you prepare budget, and the budget should be passed in the parliament or state legislative assembly, or even municipal corporations at all are there. No, there also there will be councils. So you need to put it on the table. 400 MLAs are there, 200 MLCs are there, 500 MPs are there, or 25 corporators are there, one mayor is there. You need to discuss, sir, this is what we are going to do. Sanctioning. After you submit the budget to the appropriate authority, have they sanctioned it? I am the auditor, you are the collector. You took one printout and said, Pavan sir, sanctioning authority sanctioned it. So in normal audit, you call it whether every transaction is authorized by responsible official. That is what you studied in vouching verification. Audit of items of financial statement, in that purchases, sales, salaries, everything should be sanctioned. Everything should be with the proper authority. Same thing you are doing here also. Then provisioning of funds. There are certain funds, okay. In India, in the context of India, there will be some funds called Consolidated Fund of India, Contingency Fund of India, public funds. So you collected one cess, 2% cess you collected, agricultural cess you collected, or corona cess you collected, some cess you collected, some tax you collected, or some fund you created. PM Cares fund is there, or Chief Minister some fund is there, or any fund is there, any fund of any sort, fund is there. Whether this money can be withdrawn from this account. Say for example, if there is one fund, extreme example I am giving you, there is one fund created for the welfare of widowers of army jawans who got killed in war. You created some 1000 crores. 1000 crores fund is created. For what it is given? In army, whoever is working, if they die, those widowers will get some money out of this. Now, you tell me, construction of a national highway is a top priority in that particular situation. 100 crores is required, can I appropriate money from that fund? From the fund which is kept for the welfare of army widowers. For a genuine reason, can I use it for another purpose? The answer is no. So, whenever you create a fund, remember one thing. Do you remember accounting standard 29? Do you remember Ind AS 37? What did you learn? A provision created for one purpose cannot be utilized for another purpose. For example, provision for warranty, 100 rupees created, but warranty expenses 120. Provision for tax, 1000 rupees created, but tax is 800 only. So provision for tax has 200 extra money, but provision for warranty needs 20 rupees. Pawan sir, that provision is also ours only. This provision is also ours only. Can I take 20 rupees from provision for tax and can I pay the 20 rupees in warranty expenses? You tell me, can you utilize? The answer is no. How can you? Excess provision if you have created, reverse it, that is allowed. Or carry forward it, that is also allowed. Utilize it for same purpose, that is also allowed. But utilizing it for another purpose is not allowed. So, whether when you are appropriating money from a particular fund, is it allowed? Every fund is created for a specific purpose. Do you know, when I have conducted government audits, there will be, this graveyards, smasanam will be there, graveyards where you do cremations and all, cemeteries, I don't know, different names are used in different religions. Okay, so when a person dies, you'll take and you'll perform the final rites there as per the rituals and all. Do you know, specific funds are created by municipal authorities even for the management of that particular graveyard also. Can you believe it? Otherwise, how will you manage? Isn't whether whatever I am trying to give you the understanding, do you think it is making sense? For every purpose there will be a fund. You should not use this for another purpose. Is it making sense? Guys, are you following me? Yes. So the auditor will see, dear collector, I understand genuine purpose. You are constructing a road, 100 crores you have taken. From which account you have taken? You have check signing power. That doesn't mean you can withdraw money for any purpose from any fund. Whether it is properly appropriated, whether the provisioning of fund is appropriate as per the, whatever the rules are there for utilization of fund. That is third question. Sir, this fund has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 utilizations. 3 covers construction of road. I have done that. Now auditor said, dear collector, I am happy. Then propriety is one beautiful way of questioning the financial transaction performed by a public authority. Simple example I'll tell you. 2, 3 examples I'll tell you, then we'll go back to our text. A person, while spending his own money, will he exercise the same degree of diligence, care, when the other person is spending money for this? For example, 2 friends A and B, 2 friends you and I, both of us went to a restaurant to have dinner, and the dinner is on you. The cost is on you. You said today it is your treat. You said, Pawan, whatever you want to order. So I opened the menu. In the menu, there is one ice cream which is running into 700 rupees. Okay. Unfortunately, I ate a sandwich which cost 1500 rupees. Unfortunately, because I do not know, I ordered and then it is 1500. It was, it's okay. So, if it is my money, will I eat that 700 rupee ice cream? But because you are giving treat to me, I said, hey, that ice cream 700 rupees. Then what comes to your mind? This shameless guy is not having any sense. He is imprudent. He is not prudent. He is not a genuine guy. So, if I am taking the same caution while spending your money as if I am spending my money, will I eat 700 rupee ice cream? No. Then how can I spend my friend's 700 rupees, which is waste of money? Then I will tell you, Noda, we'll go with this 50 rupees ice cream. That is enough for us, okay? One day we become chartered accountants, that day we have 700. No, not now. So then you will like, genuine guy, yaar, banda acha hai dil se. How nice this guy is. So won't you feel good when I say I don't want that 700? Even if you offer, I'll not take because I don't deserve that. Now when you come to this government office, imagine you travel in second class train. You will open IRCTC website. You will buy second class or third class reservation ticket. 900 rupees is the cost, and you will travel from one place to another place. When it comes to government, you have booked a flight ticket with 12,000 rupees or business class flight ticket with 85,000 rupees. Why? Government will pay, I will not pay. So don't you think government officers will do this? If it is your personal money, you will go in train. Yes or no? You tell me. Will government officers do this? Your own money, train. Government money, business class. Not even flight economy class, business class. So with your own money, can you afford that? No. Then how can you spend public money? People who are working 24 hours roadside in the construction site, the daily laborer, they earned 400 rupees. They bought one toothpaste 25 rupees. In that you screwed up 3 rupees of GST. With that money, this government officer is flying in flight, whereas that roadside person is dying there. How imprudent it is. That is the reason the principles of propriety says. What is propriety audit? Propriety audit is testing a transaction against the rules of propriety, whether the expenditure conforms to the principles of propriety. So what is propriety audit? Propriety audit is, write down. Propriety audit is testing a transaction with principles of propriety. Testing the transaction with principles of propriety. Pawan sir, what do you mean by principles of propriety? There are certain accepted benchmarks. There are certain accepted benchmarks. What are the accepted benchmarks? One, the expenditure should not be prima facie more than what occasion demands. Are you recollecting this? You might have studied in your CA intermediate also, unless you leave these topics. But you will not understand the actual dimension in CA intermediate. So I am telling you more in depth, because in your articles you might do government audits tomorrow. No, I have done hell number of government audits in my life. The expenditure should not be prima facie more than what occasion demands. I'll give you example. So there is one Mr. A. He saw one vacant shop, vacant place in a commercial, commercially busy place. There is one space. So Mr. B is the owner. Mr. B is the owner. Now Mr. A went to Mr. B and asked, sir, how much is this, sir? He said, it is 1000 SFT. Then Mr. A said, sir, I want this on lease, sir. I will run one bakery here, sir. One tea stall, one chai kada, I will put it, sir. And I'll also sell some snacks and all, sir. Please give this to me, sir. Small bakery, sir. Mr. B said, okay, take it at a rate of 80 rupees per square feet. So 80,000 rupees is rent. Do you think Mr. A will accept yes, or Mr. A will negotiate? You tell me. If you are Mr. A, will you negotiate? It is a long-term contract. You will take it for 4 years, 5 years. Negotiate. Everybody is saying I'll negotiate. Obviously. You will negotiate by saying, sir, no business, sir. So much of risk will be there, sir. Investment, sir. I need to buy some inventory also, sir. No funding, sir. I am a self-made person, sir. No big family support also. Please consider, sir. Sir, I cannot pay 80,000, sir. If the business is successful tomorrow, if God is kind, if I'm earning good money, that time please increase, sir. Now I can pay only 50,000, sir. Please, sir. This is the actual substance. Now imagine Mr. A is State Bank of India General Manager, and he wants to take this for SBI branch. SBI is starting a new branch here. Do you think that public sector undertakings or government departments or a public sector banks or a nationalized insurance company's general manager who's earning 2 lakhs 3 lakhs per month, or maybe who's earning 1.5 lakh per month, do you think he'll go to Mr. B and he will ask, sir, you know, SBI nationalized bank, sir, 150 200 years of grand history, sir, we are working for people, sir, our margin will be very little, sir, so many NPS, you know, the growth is very low, we cannot afford 80,000, sir, could you please allow me to take this premises for 50,000? So this is your service to nation, sir, please, sir, 50,000. Do you think State Bank of India general manager will negotiate like this? No. You tell me why. Simple. It is not your money. It is as simple as it is not your money. This is called imprudence. Simple example I'll give you. You are a chartered accountant running your CA firm. You are a chartered accountant running in CA firm. Running your own CA firm. 4 articled assistants are there. 2 partner cabins are there. 2 ACs are there. ACs are on. ACs are on. Fans are on. Lights are on. Computers are on. So when you are done with your office, you came outside your cabin, you saw one AC on in the hall where articled assistants are there. Do you think you will smile at them and you will go home? Do you think you will smile at them and go home? You will screw their happiness. Idiots. Why the hell these fans are on? One person is there or no person is there. In this cabin, no one is there. Why the fan is on? In that place, no one is sitting there. Why the fan is on? In washroom, no person is there. Why the fan is on? Why the AC? Why this light is on? So you will give a very clear instruction that if no person is there in the seat, laptop or system should not be on, fan should not be on, light should not be on, AC should not be on. Remember. Cost cutting. Yes or no? Will you do this or no? If you are the owner of that CA firm, partner of that CA firm, will you do this or no? Yes. Now imagine you are same chartered accountant, same person, but you are IRS officer working in Government of India, Aikar Bhavan, Income Tax Department, 6th floor, ITO, Assistant Commissioner of Income Tax, Zone 6. You are sitting in your chamber. There are 200 people, 200 chairs are there, 40 people are not there, but all the fans are on. Do you think will you go to the switchboard and will you switch off all the fans and lights which are not in use? Do you think at least you will call one employee and say, "Arey yaar, oh fans and lights switch off kar do yaar," because in your blood 20 years of government service is there, no? So your mind is like government money, not my money. So when you are going out of your room, officer, no, you are big officer, you will not switch off your own room's light, fan and AC. Imprudent. Don't you think public money is wasted like this? This is what principles of propriety says. The expenditure should not be prima facie more than what occasion demands. If you can control the cost, control the cost. 2. No authority. What is second principle? No authority should spend money. No authority should spend money for his or her own direct or indirect benefit. Government scheme is there. You should not benefit your kith and kin with that government scheme. In that government scheme, you are giving 100 plots of land. You have to identify actually deserving people who are living below poverty line, who genuinely need that You have to identify and you have to give these machines to them. You have to give this lands to them. You have to give this government scheme money towards them who are deserving candidates. But do you think a politician or a minister will do it like this? So I have a right to distribute 100 machines, or I have a right to distribute 100 plots of land. Will I verify a deserving candidate, or will I do it directly or indirectly for my benefit? My friends, my family, my relatives, my kith and kin, my party man, my party karyakarta. So don't you think they will do something for their own direct or indirect benefit? That is one of the principles. You should not. You should not. Three. While spending public money, the officers should exercise the same degree of vigilance. Write down the same degree of vigilance as if they are spending their own money. If my money I am spending, how careful I will be. That much of diligence. What is diligence? You know, diligence is diligence. It is not vigilance, it is diligence. You can write vigilance also, but the actual word is diligence. Diligence is opposite of negligence. Negligence means carelessly spending. Negligence is carelessly spending. Diligence is carefully spending. So this is 3. This is 3. 4. Any reimbursement or allowance must not become a source of profit or earnings to a government servant. Any reimbursement or allowance must not become a source of profit or earnings to a government servant. For example, if you are a government officer or if you are working in government, as per the government rules, this government employee is there, no? His dependents like mom, dad, or maybe wife or children. So their medical expenses reimbursement up to, say, for example, rupees 1200 per month will be reimbursed by the government. So if you are spending some money towards the medical expenses of mother and father, you are spending some money towards the medical expenses of mother and father, you can get reimbursement up to 1200 per month. But actually what happened, your mom, dad, wife, children, everybody is, God is kind on you, having solid health, no expenditure. So this government employee, he goes to a medical shop or he goes to some small doctor, a certified doctor, medical practitioner, and he will say, sir, government officer, 1200 reimbursement, sir, please give some prescription. So the doctor also knows that there is no patient, there is no ailment. So he'll write, Mr. ABC, age 62 years, this medicine, prescription. So this guy will go to a medical shop and say, boss, these are the medicines which I do not want, but I need only the bill. Medical shop fellow sell 100 rupees. So you give 100 rupees to doctor, he gave prescription, you give 100 rupees to this medical shop guy, he has given you fake bill. Now you will go to your government department personnel officer or HR, you will give this and say, sir, 1200 rupees are my father medical expenses, sir, please sir. He sanctioned it, 1200 rupees you got. Don't you think this will happen in government departments? You tell me. Guys, don't you think this happens in government department? What is that? Government is giving you a reimbursement or an allowance and you are using it as a source of profit or earnings. How bad you are. Now, so many students will ask, but Pavan sir, don't you think if we follow this rule 1, rule 2, rule 3, rule 4, if every government officer follows this rule 1, 2, 3, 4, within 1 year, India will be richer than USA? The answer is yes. People do not follow. Traffic rules are there. Are you following? These are what we call principles of propriety. I bet no student will understand what is propriety normally when they read or when they attend the classes also. They do not understand. Now, I'm not saying I'm a superior lecturer, but I have done government audits and I have seen government audits both as a statutory auditor, as an internal auditor, as an auditor on behalf of C&AG also we have done. C&AG also said, do this, do this, do this and submit the report to us. We have done that. There are some, Yuvajana Kendra bolke, there are some plans. Government gives crores and crores, and these people will misuse that like anything, okay? They will create dummy accounts. They will say that women and child welfare department will be there. No, sewing machines and all will be given to them. Crafting lessons, tailoring, training will be given to them. Tools will be given to them. Then, this motor repairs, mobile repairs, laptop repairs, all these things will be taught to them with government cost. And you will give toolkits to them, sewing machines to them free of cost. Government gives 1,000 sewing machines to them, and this 1,000 sewing machines will be sold in second hand. And they will say in so and so village we have distributed it. Distribute 2 machines, take photos, put it for official record. Remaining 98 machines, sell it in second hand. Don't you think this is happening in India? Guys, tell me, do you think this is happening in India or no? Because I have conducted government audits, I understand what I read in the textbook, what is happening there. So that is what I'm telling you. If you are conducting government audit, test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4. This is what you need to do. Now, Pavan sir, coming back to this, test 1 I have done. I'm happy with this, Pavan sir. Test 2 I have done. I'm happy with this. Test 3 I have done. I'm happy with this. Test 4 I'm done. I'm happy with this. Is audit over? Hello, hold on. Even if an expenditure meets all the 1, 2, 3, 4 criteria, is it avoidable? Is it waste? Is it infructuous? Is it without any value addition? Whether the expenditure has given the expected results, that is performance audit. So what is performance audit? Even if expenditure incurred, is as per or in conformity with 1, 2, 3 and 4, still the auditor verifies one more thing. Still the auditor verifies whether it is avoidable, whether it is unnecessary, whether it is infructuous. Infructuous means waste, without any yield. Expenditure. If the answer is yes, still I will catch the collar of the collector and I say, why the hell you incurred this? He said, sir, proper provisioning is there, sir. Ray, I'm not asking about provisioning. Sir, sanctioning is also there, sir. No. Sir, government order is there, sir. Sir, propriety principles, everything check, sir. You have constructed a building. You said that I will use this for government school. The school is not yet started. 3 years. The building is constructed 3 years ago. Why the hell that is not being put to use? It is not giving the expected yield. So here you are asking whether the project for which you incurred cost, whether the project is yielding the expected returns or outcome. For example, when you are constructing metro in Mumbai, one metro was sanctioned with 12,000 crores. In metro, in Mumbai, one metro is sanctioned with 12,000 crores. When you are giving this project report for sanctioning by government, the person said, the authority said, sir, this metro will reduce traffic by 28% and accidents by 45%. Road accidents will come down, traffic will come down, and pollution will come down by 20%. Return on investment on this project will be 12%. On the project, whatever you have invested, 12% will come. So you told all these things. I agree. Test 1 passed, test 2 passed, test 3 passed, test 4 passed. But are you getting these returns? If the answer is no, you failed in your performance execution. This is also known as 3E audit: economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. This is performance audit. So in audit of public sector undertaking, you will do all these things. You understand it. So isn't it a new dimension for the government audit what already you might have studied? So you understand the topics whatever I taught till now. So shall we go to ICAI material and see what is there in ICAI material? So normally in our regular life, we use this word PSU so many times, isn't it? Public sector undertaking. If someone asks you, why, what is public sector undertaking? You have to tell that public sector undertaking includes 3 types of entities. Public sector undertaking includes 3 types of entities. One is departmentally managed undertakings like Indian Railways, postal services, autonomous. They are also government. Second thing is government companies registered under Companies Act 2013 or any act, prior to that, like Companies Act 1956. They are also government entities, public sector undertakings. For example, NTPC, ONGC. The third one is corporations set up under special acts. For example, how SBI is incorporated. Do you think SBI is a company? Is it SBI Limited? No, it is SBI. Do you think LIC is incorporated under Companies Act? No, it is not LIC Limited. It is Life Insurance Corporation of India. That's all. Do you think UTI is a company? No. These are incorporated under the special acts. These are called corporations. You understand? So they are also PSUs. So PSU basically refers to 3 things. That's all. Then, Pawan sir, what is a government company? You might have studied in your LKG also, no? What is a government company? Section 2, subsection 45. A government company is a company in which 51% or more of the paid up share capital is held by either central government or state government or central government and state government put together, and it includes a company which is subsidiary company of a government company. There is a company which is subsidiary of a government company, that is also a government company. We used to call them sometimes deemed government company. What is a deemed government company? A company which is subsidiary to a government company. So this is what the definition is. Now, have you heard C and AG? Have you heard C and AG before? Tell me in the chat box. Yes, so many times you might have studied. So you tell me who is C and AG? What is C and AG? Do you know few days back there was, I think even now it is open, I think 4 or 5 days back only, C and AG is appointing 10,500 auditors and accountants. Do you know that? Someone is interested, you can Google it. C and AG is hiring 10,500 auditors and accountants. So basically the C and AG is a department. Basically, C and AG is a department. Like you have IAS officers, IRS officers. Like that, you have Indian accounting services also. You understand? So basically, these are government employees. So there is one autonomous department called C and AG. who takes care of both the accounting and auditing aspects of central government, state government, union territories and local bodies. And the beauty is C&AG, the way how he is appointed, the way how he is removed is something similar to President of India. So he will be appointed by President of India and he can be removed only on proven misbehavior or incapacity. For example, God forbid, for example, the existing C&AG has some, heart stroke or some paralysis kind of thing, because of which he is not in capacity to perform his duties, proven incapacity. Then you will put the bill in parliament, I think 2/3 of majority of the parliament, then you can remove him. Or proven misbehavior, he is involved in some nonsense, some scam or something, then you can remove him. And his salaries, status, perquisites, the benefits, everything is equal to some Supreme Court judge. You understand? He doesn't work under any minister. That is the reason even PM or CMs or prime ministers or any minister also, they are scared of C&AG. In C&AG audit, if something they write, gone. So if you remember that the coal scam is there, they call it Coalgate, not COLGATE, Coalgate scam. 2G, 3G, that spectrum scam is there, no? That scam. Then other society scam. There are so many scams which were actually plugged out and reported by C&AG only. How come all these frauds came out? It is in C&AG audit. Then you know that Commonwealth Games scam. Do you know what happened? Treadmillers will be there, no? We do jogging and all, treadmiller. So this treadmiller, imagine if you purchase it, it is 5 lakhs. Superior end, no? Normally in our house and all we use it, that will be 60,000, 50,000 only. Imagine they have purchased a very superior higher end machine, 5 lakh rupees is the cost of the treadmill. He has taken it on lease. Per machine they paid 40 lakhs rent. C&AG asked, have you lost your brain or do you think I am a fool? If you purchase this, it will be 5 lakhs. Throughout the Commonwealth Games and during the preparation, you bought it, you took it on lease, 2 months or 3 months lease. For this 3 months, you paid 40 lakhs per machine. If you purchase, it will come for 5 lakhs. Do you think we are mental people? That is where that Commonwealth Games fraud 800 crores came. All these are plugged out by C&AG. So C&AG is basically, it refers to an authority, a person or a department also. C&AG is a person, C&AG is a department. Now, what are various, things like you call it statutory provisions, from where the authority is coming in, from where the responsibility is coming in. Can you believe his authorities and responsibilities are flowing from the Constitution? Article is there. Article 149, Article 150, Article 148, Article 151. All these are articles. Constitutional authority he is. That is the reason you cannot move him. If he is appointed by a minister or a parliament, they will throw him out. No, where is independence? He is appointed by president. So look here, 148. Appointment of C&AG is by the president. Special procedure for removal of C&AG only on the grounds of proven misbehavior and incapacity. Salary and other conditions of service to be determined by the parliament. 149. Performs such duties and exercise such powers in relation to the accounts of union, accounts of state and any other authority or body as may be prescribed by or under any law may be made by the parliament. So what is this? In relation to accounts. Whose accounts? Union government accounts, state government accounts, or any other authority or any other body. It could be local body as may be prescribed by the parliament. And for his duties, powers and conditions of service, there is a special act, C&AG Act 1971. That means that strong his position is. So, Pawan sir, what are his duties enacted? What are his powers enacted? What are the conditions of service? That means how much of salary you will pay, how much of other remunerations, perquisites you will pay, everything is in that. Article 150. Pawan sir, what will be the pro forma of P&L account balance sheet of Union Government of India? For example, Infosys pro forma, I know, schedule 3 given. Reliance Industries pro forma, I know, schedule 3 given. SBI pro forma of balance sheet P&L, I know, Banking Regulation Act schedule is given. But how the accounts of central government, state government will be prepared? President of India will tell the manner, the form in which the accounts have to be prepared by central government and state government. Now the question is, but Pawan sir, will President have that much of knowledge? No. C&AG will prepare the form and content and they will give it to the President. President will put a rubber stamp on that. So what is section 150? On the advice of the C&AG, President to prescribe such form in which the accounts of union government and state government shall be kept. 150. 151. Audit reports of C&AG relating to accounts of the central state government should be submitted to the President, Governor of the state, who shall cause them to be laid before Parliament, State Legislative Assembly. Sir, what is this? So, Article 151 is like this. So, C&AG performed audit. C&AG performed audit. So, when they performed audit, they have to give audit report. Audit report. Pawan sir, to whom they'll give audit report? So, report on central government, report on state government. What happened to this one? Report on central government, report on state government. So, report on central government will be given by C&AG to President of India. Report on central government will be given to President of India. Report on state government will be given to Governor. So this President of India will send it to Parliament. Governor will send it to Governor. Will send it to Legislative Assembly. Now Chintu will get it out. But Pawan sir, this members in Parliament and members in Assembly, do they have enough knowledge to understand audit reports of C&AG? The answer is no. So 543 people are there in Parliament. Do you think they will understand audit reports? Imagine C&AG has given audit report on the public sector undertakings like IOC, ONGC, NTPC, Indian Railways, Life Insurance Corporation. Are a life insurance corporation, if you see their balance sheet and if you see what are the reserves they have, what is the money they handle, your spine will shiver. That rich life insurance corporation, they'll give 10,000, 12,000 crores of dividend only to government. That big LIC is. So, do you think these audit reports will be understood by MLAs and MPs? The answer is no. That is the reason Parliament constituted one committee. A committee will be there to read and understand the audit reports and any necessary actions that are to be taken. So they will give it to members of Parliament, they will explain everything, but members of Parliament anyway they cannot understand. Then the task goes to some committee, specified committees will be there. So this is the process. So guys, do you understand this 4 points? 148, 149, 150, 151. Okay, now write down. Now write down. Elements, 5 elements. Put the heading 5 elements. 5 elements in audit of 5 elements in audit of PSUs. What is the side heading? 5 elements in audit of PSUs. 5 elements in audit of PSU. Element 1, 3 parties. 3 parties. Who are the 3 parties? One is auditor, One is responsible party. One is intended user of audit report. So in case of normal audit, auditor is company auditor. In case of normal audit, auditor is company auditor. Something is wrong with my pen. This is company auditor. Who is responsible party? Management. Who is responsible party? Why this is happening like this? Something is wrong with the writing board, but we will not leave. So first one is three parties. So what are five elements? One is three parties. Who are the three parties? You might have written already. Auditor, responsible party, next intended users. Pavan sir, what is this? In case of a regular company audit, the auditor is company auditor. Responsible party is board of directors or management who prepare financial statements. Board of directors or management who prepare financial statements. Intended users are the shareholders. This is called three parties. See, I'll tell you one thing, okay? In every audit, these five elements are there. If you are doing ACCA, in day one, in lesson one, second page or first page, they will explain these five elements. But here in our, Indian auditing textbooks, these are not there. In final, in PSU audits, when they have put these five elements, I'm like, dude, this is like already there in, global textbooks. So it is same concept. It is not exclusively for PSUs, okay? These five elements will be there in any audit. These five elements are there in any audit. So this is element one. What is element one? Three parties. Element one, three parties. Element two, subject matter. What is element two? Subject matter. What is element three? Criteria. What is element 4? Subject matter information. 4. Subject matter information. First one is subject, second one is subject matter, third one is criteria, fourth one is subject matter information. Pavan sir, what these things are? Simple. In case of a normal audit, subject matter is financial statements. Criteria is schedule 3 or accounting standards. So these are benchmarks. This is output of evaluation. Output, or you can call it outcome. So what are you doing? You are testing the financial statements against schedule 3 requirements. Whether financial statements are prepared in compliance with schedule 3. Whether financial statements are prepared in compliance with accounting standards. Yes. So this subject matter will be tested. What is that? Subject matter will be tested against criteria like budget and actual. So what it should be is criteria. What it is subject matter. Whether subject matter is in conformity with criteria, yes sir. Then the outcome of this evaluation is there, no? That is subject matter information. It can be director's report, audit report, or performance report. It can be performance report. Now imagine I said I will achieve 80%. I said I achieved 72%. So what is the difference between this 72 and 80? Why I said 80%, but why it has only 72%? I will explain. So you can say that it is director's explanation or director's report. So who will prepare this subject matter information? Who will prepare the subject matter information? Sometimes responsible party, sometimes auditor. Sometimes responsible party, sometimes auditor. In case of financial audits, auditor will prepare this. There are certain other type of consulting or assurance engagements which we will discuss in element 5. Then responsible party will make the subject matter information. You can say it is audit report or board report. What is subject matter information? It is something like audit report or board report. Then the fifth element is types of engagement. Types of engagement. Types of engagement. There can be two types of engagements. One is attestation engagement. One is attestation engagement. Second one is direct report engagement. So in attestation engagement, subject matter information will be prepared by the management. In direct report engagement, subject matter information will be prepared by auditor. So you can see, do you know there are three types of audits in public sector undertaking or government audits? Financial audit, compliance audit, performance audit. So there are three types of audits. What are they? One is financial audit. One is compliance audit. One is performance audit. So this attestation engagement is there, no? This is financial audit. Normally financial audit is an attesting. What happened? Hello? Excuse me. We have prepared another sheet also, no? Why this sheet came again? Ego problem. We are not using this sheet, no? Some other sheet came. Okay, so this attestation engagement is financial audit. This direct report engagements are there, no? Compliance audit, performance audit. So don't worry about these two words, Pawan sir. What is attestation engagement? What is direct reporting engagement? What is financial audit, compliance audit, performance audit? We do not have clarity. My huna, I will explain. Don't worry about it. But overall, 5 elements in PSU audits is like this. Nice diagram. So have you copied? Have you understood these 5 elements? About types of engagement, attestation engagement, direct reporting engagement, financial audit, performance audit, compliance audit. I will explain again. That is a different topic actually. The remaining things you understand. What are the 5 elements in PSU audit? Examination question can be asked. Follow. What are the 5 elements? Element 1, 3 parties. Element 1, 3 parties. Element 2, subject matter. That means it is nothing but management affirmations in financial statements. Then criteria. Criteria is the benchmark against which you are testing subject matter. Then subject matter information. It can be board report or auditor's report. So, three parties, subject matter, criteria, subject matter information, then two types of assignments, engagements. One can be, attestation engagement, another one can be direct report engagement. You understand it? So if you understand here, shall we take a small break and come back? Shall we take a small break and come back?